Alright, playing Collapsing World again. I was gonna play in Europe, but then I noticed that this random guy over in China exists for some reason and apparently has a focus tree because he was an interesting country. So we're a local military garrison. We have dreams of a people's utopia and of unifying China. This seems pretty familiar. So apparently I just start out as a subject, which is interesting. And I'm part of whatever this faction is, which is interesting. And I have zero factories and no manpower, which is interesting. But look on the bright side, at least we have a massive focus tree, and the first focus has a troll face on it for some reason. And it even has a text description. That's a good sign, right? It's also got three distinct paths apparently, and the second largest focus tree. Probably not going to even try for a specific path, I'll just end up wherever I end up. Seems our overlord has already collapsed less than a week into the game, so I guess it's time to... Oh, yep, that's a lot of modifiers. Okay. Guess I am off to war immediately. I've got one off-map civ, zero manpower, zero equipment, but I've got three divisions in a dream, but no general to lead them. Hopefully I can just run in and immediately capitulate them, otherwise I'm kinda screwed. This seems like a really strong focus, so I think I'm just gonna hold on to it for later, and instead go over here to what I think is my economic tree, but the first focus in it is to allocate stockpiled guns. I thought it important to note that I got spammed with these events of just random generals and divisions joining my army. I won't question it because I kind of need them. They also say they're communist sympathizers, so surely they won't betray us later, right? Right? How do you even misplace documentation about how your entire government system works? That seems like it would be a lot of like documents, right? Also, like, how do you get 1,000% collab? Isn't the cap 100%? Who the heck is the Central Asian Red Army, and why do they like me? I assume it's this guy because he has Red Army in his name, but like, who the heck is Frunzy? Oh yes, we're definitely going to need a workers' front. I'm also going to give more power to the councils because it seems a lot less authoritarian than just giving all of the power to some random field marshal. This one civilian factory from Russia will literally double our economy, so of course I'm going to accept it. Now that this guy's finally gone, maybe I'll actually be able to build an army without attritioning half of my equipment. What does the future have in store for us? Hopefully the conquest of most, if not all of Asia. Also, those focuses that I wanted to save just got immediately bypassed the second the war was over, so that was kind of a waste. Again, with the ideological decisions in this mod, for some reason seizing the means of production creates a civilian factory, which I somewhat understand, but how are we creating an additional building slot in this state? I just opened the division designer for the first time, and this is apparently what I'm working with. It's kind of cursed, I hate it, and I'm going to immediately change it. And with the newfound power of 10 with infantry with support artillery, I'm going to invade the rest of Xinjiang. All of Xinjiang except for this little guy in the east, which I'm going to, for some reason, turn into a puppet instead of core directly, because that's what the focus tree requires of me for some reason. Like, I can core the rest of Xinjiang in one focus, but for some reason this single small state needs four focuses, half of which being reducing autonomy, even though the final focus just annexes them. So I guess I've just got this little tumor that may or may not declare war on me or any of my neighbors through event, so that's fun. Going for a People's Republic instead of a Soviet Republic, because that sounds cooler. So I'm not Xinjiang for some reason, but I'm Xinjiang, which seems like it should be pronounced almost exactly the same, but I may just be crazy. Apparently this is my military focus tree, and apparently they're all just 28-day focuses that either give me a small amount of XP or a small bonus to my next doctrine until you get to the very bottom, at which point it either gives you some halfway decent modifiers or a little bit of research speed. Either way, I'm probably going to stay away from it for the time being, and instead come over here to see some Warlord assets so that we can actually jumpstart our government funding. Whoever came up with this 4-year plan definitely needs a raise because minus 20% consumer goods and 20% civilian construction speed for a full 4 years is actually insane. Finally, after several years of waiting, we can actually take the next focus to unifying China. And we'll start off by peacefully asking for the Mao clique to become our subject. I'm sure they'll say yes. Although the lack of a focus description doesn't instill great confidence, it is understandable because we're quite a ways down in the focus tree. It seems that only a few of the pieces agreed to subjugation, which is a little confusing. I'm not sure how much autonomy all these guys have, or if this is historically accurate or not, but it doesn't really matter because I can always just invade them. I'm also going to just directly annex this and create some horrible looking border gore because I can. Working with the Mongols? Could you imagine? Yeah, I'm definitely going to be invading them. I'd also like to point out that this focus tree is absolutely broken because by this point I have over 70 factories, which is more than Japan and on par with the UK and France's count, while the rest of China has about 5 to 10 or even less, aside from the other quote-unquote contesters who have about 30. So I've already completely outscaled the rest of the competition, and I've barely even touched North China yet. Speaking of which, I'm going to be invading this part of Mongolia now, as well as starting a border incident with the Russian army in Mongolia, which is sort of part of Russia, I think, maybe, but it's also a sovereign nation. I don't know what's really going on with it. Hopefully, Russia doesn't intervene and break my knees, which of course they don't. Also, my name is still aishan in this event for some reason. And now that we've taken that tiny sliver of land off of Mongolia, we can now proclaim the Union of Northwestern Chinese Soviet Republics, even though I thought we were a People's Republic, not a Soviet Republic. But I don't really know enough about communism to know the difference, so I won't question it. Keeping with the trend of doing anything but reunifying China, I'm going to go over here and invade Manchuria instead, which I think is kind of part of China, but not really, but also sort of is. And now that that's taken care of, we kind of just have North China now, which kind of goes along with my name, if you just ignore Shaanxi. I also at some point gained Korea as a puppet. I don't know when that happened, which is confusing because if anything, this focus says that I will declare war on Korea once the focus is completed. Also, it gives me two focuses here. One is to just puppet Manchuria, and the other is to just directly core it. In what instance would you possibly want to puppet instead of core? And then the next focus is just start a war with Japan. I don't know how I'm supposed to be ready to fight Japan at this point. Yeah, they obviously declined that. I'm not sure what the point was. The war goal never expires though, so I guess it's okay, because I can always just use it later. For now though, I'm just going to continue stalling and go and invade Tibet because it's free real estate, which is probably the same reasoning that the real life Chinese government used. Now I have 160 factories and 4 million manpower unlimited conscriptions, so I'm going to take this time to continue stalling and instead annex Korea after building in them to lower their autonomy. I've been stalling for almost 7 years now, so I guess it's finally time to get around to actually trying to unify mainland China. Starting down here with the Cantonese because they seem to be doing pretty well in their wars, and I like dogpiling the AI, much like Tommy K does. Now I'm going to do one last detour, and it's going to be into Yunnan, but then I promise I'll get back to unifying China. Now that that's taken care of, I'm pretty sure there's just going to be one more big war. It kind of looks that way, but it might be more. There's also a bit of a weird situation going on here. I'm not sure if it's intended or not, but there's two Shaanxis. I have no idea which this focus is going to declare war on, or if it'll be both or neither. It's just one, we're good. I hope the other Shaanxi is just looped in with another focus. If not, that'd be pretty sad because I'd have to manually justify it. Apparently supporting farmers gives me cores and makes me declare war on two people. We're also invading Beijing first, apparently, and luckily the other Shaanxi is at the bottom there, so we won't have to justify. I'm not sure why they didn't just loop these last three people into the same war. I feel like that would have made more sense. He's doing 5 different focuses and 5 different unification wars instead of just one big unification war. Seems like it drags it on a lot more, but that might just be me, I don't know. But then again, this guy is the faction leader, so I can just literally walk into his capital and then he just instantaneously capitulates and I get the entire region for free. So it is a little questionable how this is designed. Because you're fighting that giant faction for Beijing, and then you just fight these 3 little guys. It seems like a step in the wrong direction, but it is better than those modded focus trees where it's like, here, take these 2 factories and then go fight God. But now that that's all taken care of, we can finally... Oh, never mind. Apparently we need to occupy all the treaty ports, which I'm sure won't piss off any great powers. And they all accepted. So I guess we just reform our government now and form China. I love how it says the Russians are nearly won. Like, they're not quite there. Also, why'd they have to call them out, but not the Americans? It's kind of mean. Also, I thought we were already a People's Republic. Why does it say we're only just now not a Soviet Republic? Anyways, the war in China's over. It's time to prosper, invade all of our neighbors. I kind of like the old map color better, but I guess we're the People's Republic of China now, so it's okay. And we'll obviously be moving the capital to Beijing. Stick with the shtick. Yep, that the era of China has returned. Even more stability for me to not even need because I've been at 100% since the early game. I guess I'm just gonna demand Outer Manchuria from this Siberian guy. They just immediately accept for some reason. I don't know why, but I guess I just have this bit of land now in Manchuria. And that just leaves Japan, who I'm just going to immediately kick off of mainland China because their divisions are kind of just death stacked and attritioning in 3 or 4 provinces, so I just kind of walk over them. Then we'll use the perfect counter to not having a navy, which is to not even try to fight their navy and paradrop over them. And now I'll just slam 8 million manpower into their front lines and also paradrop behind their front lines until they eventually just give up and I walk over them. If this isn't the pinnacle of strategy, technology, then I don't know what is. And now that I've encircled 99% of their army, I'm just gonna press the green arrow and then just watch, I guess. And there we go. It's a pretty good China. I think it's good enough for me. I guess I'll just show you the rest of the world now, which is pretty interesting. All right, starting over here, we have the Cossacks for some reason, as well as communist and worst communist Germany, as well as French Italy for some reason. And over here, we have the American Liberation Army, who is just about finished off the corporate government, which is good, I guess. And over here in the Middle East, there's I don't really know what's happening here. I'm just going to go over here to India, where for some reason Israel is in the middle of it. I don't know what that's about, but I probably won't be trying to invade India for that reason because it looks kind of like a mess and I don't really want to have to deal with that. We've also got the Turkestan government up here, the Russian state over there in Siberia, and here's China, which is pretty cool, and that's pretty much good enough for me.